Hi, gorgeous soul. Welcome back to the Cosmic Coffee Shops. I'm Chloe the Cosmic Mage, your host, and I welcome you to join me in grabbing your favourite beverage in your favourite glass or mug and join me for this cosmic chat. It's actually Sunday at midday here in the UK. I'm experimenting with the day that I do these chats. Just trying to be quite fluid and finding the day and the time that feels nice. I mean, I'm not someone who really goes that well with rigid structure anyway. So yeah, I am actually drinking. It looks really gross and milky. I actually did put a bit too much milk in today. My morning coffee, enjoying my morning coffee live with you, with my gorgeous bouncing flowers. Every time I touch my desk, they wiggle. And yeah, I wanted to talk about a topic today that's really been on my heart a lot recently, and the volume of this topic of conversation has been really turned up to full volume since my road trip to Scotland 2 weeks ago to visit my dear friend John Binney. So if you're interested in knowing more about what happened on that trip and the kind of the healing journey that I went through, check out my blog. It's on my website. It's called My Fantastical Life. I'll directly link in the description of this video the link to that blog post about the trip and the activation that happened, and almost like this deep divine remembrance within me that I'm only really waking up to now. And I feel like this is going to be such a long time unraveling and unfolding within me. So the theme of today's Cosmic Coffee Shop chat is cosmic love. Cosmic love. You see me talking quite a lot about relationships and self-empowerment and love and all of these things. So this is taking it to a kind of an even deeper esoteric level today. And I went to a festival yesterday, and there were all these conversations, and there's just so much like juice to feed this conversation now. So I'm excited. And so before I dive in to the topic, thank you everyone who watched, participated and commented on last week's Cosmic Coffee Shop. That was so awesome. Thank you for telling me that you're here for the rebranding, you're loving the new theme of these chats, because I'm really feeling it too, so thank you. And thank you for all of your requests, your topic requests. I literally have them written down because I'm old school. I like to write everything down on paper, so I've got all your requests written down. There was one request actually that I feel intertwines beautifully with the topic of conversation today. So I will be reading out that question and bringing it in to the conversation because I felt that it really went today. So I feel that that's quite a beautiful way of actually honouring your requests, is because I get these really strong sort of nudges from my inner temple of wisdom and guidance on topics and of things that are sort of on the pulse of the collective current. And then I look through the requests and I think, oh, that's actually really in alignment with what I'm going to talk about today. So at the moment, that's how I feel I'm going to navigate through the requests. But of course, if there's ever a day when I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about today, let's dive in. I'll just select randomly. I never want to give favoritism to anyone. I just want to pick randomly or pick what feels like it's in alignment. So yeah, just letting you know that like I have noted down all of your questions and requests. I loved all of them. They already had like my brain bubbling and getting excited about diving into those. And yeah, so if you do have requests for anything that you want me to dive into, because this is the Cosmic Coffee Shop, if it can be on the realms of the cosmos, anything cosmic, galactic. We can also go into the magical and esoteric, beings, spirits, gods, goddesses, deities, something else that feels like mysterious and maybe a little bit out of reach to you, or really out there. Like, I want us to just like blow our minds together. There's this concept that I love, and it's the concept of like, I'm losing my mind, right? We are made to fear this concept of losing our minds, but then it's like, I'm losing my mind, finally, I'm gonna be free. And I love that. I really want us to like promote that here in this space of breaking free from the constructs of limiting thoughts and programmings. This is your safe space to be as alien, cosmic, weird, wonderful, witchy, magical, whimsical as you like. I'm going to be here cheering you on. All opinions are valid. We are all having our own individual experiences here on this crazy, crazy ass human ride. And we are all perceiving life through our own lens of trauma. Remember that. So everything that I'm sharing is going to be, even, you know, no matter how much healing work I've done, it's always going to be slightly peppered with my experiences. And same as you, what you're sharing is going to be through the lens of your own experiences. And that's beautiful. That's what connects us all, but it's also what gives us our uniqueness and our individuality. It brings us together. So yeah, just to remind you of that. If there's anything that doesn't resonate, that's okay. You can take things as you wish and leave as you wish. It's totally up to you. I'm never coming from the place of what I'm preaching is right or true. No, I'm sharing from a place of my own experiences and a sense of what I like to believe, open-mindedness. I love to receive other people's opinions, even if I totally don't align with them. I just find it fascinating, the multidimensionality of how we can all perceive this reality. So I just wanted to share that with you before diving in. This is my experience. I don't believe anyone to be absolute truth or right or wrong. Yeah, we're all just here trying to figure it out, whatever that means. I've got my crazy cosmic cats. I think they definitely look like cosmic cats, don't they? I did make a bit of an effort and put some lip balm on for today. But yeah, Sunday, I was at a festival yesterday. I was wearing a lot of makeup and glitter on my face. So my face is saying today, please be natural and clean and fresh. So here we are. And I think it's beautiful on Sunday as well to just come with that rawness and purity. So yes, I digress now. Let's talk about cosmic love. Cosmic love. Where shall I begin? Shall I begin with the story? Yeah, all right. I'll begin with the story. So I'll begin with my story. Don't worry. This isn't going to be some deep, like, going into personal details. It's just my story of why I'm really leaning into this topic at the moment. And it is linked to last week's Cosmic Coffee Shop. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that first, because I really do feel like it will create a beautiful foundation for this conversation. So let's start with, well, all right. So just to backtrack a bit, I've been single now since February of last year. So that is February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Oh, damn. Okay, so a year and a half now. I didn't think it was that long. I've been single for a year and a half, and in April this year, so what's that, 3-4 months ago, I started feeling like I was ready to get myself out there again and meet someone. And yeah, just because of the nature of where I am in my life at the moment and what I've been pouring my awareness into, I'm not really living in an environment where I'm socializing a lot or like getting out there and meeting people. Although I have been in the summer at festivals, so that's been good, and I have met some people and had interesting conversations. But I've been dabbling in the apps, in online dating. You know, and I'm not going to say that anything is inherently good or bad, because I don't believe that. But I've had some very interesting realizations, and they're very obvious, but I feel like the most profound realizations are the most simple and the most obvious. So I'm going to share those with you when we get down the line a bit, about online dating. Anyways, so yeah, and I've just been really putting myself out there and talking to people I perhaps would not normally talk to, or people who I might not sort of naturally connect with. Been putting myself out there, been going on dates, been having multiple conversations with like people from all walks of life, ethnicities, jobs, backgrounds, spiritual beliefs, everything. Like I've been really casting the net wide, or doing market research, if you like, in the dating pool. Which has been fun, but I have to admit it's been pretty draining and tiring, and at moments quite sad, actually, quite sad. So yeah, this takes me to 2 weeks ago when I was driving up to Scotland, and it is a long drive, right? I think it was like an eight-hour journey with stops. And I was listening to a podcast by my favourite podcasters, Acid for Squares. Go check them out if you haven't already. They are just the coolest, most badass humans ever, and they just have the most beautiful partnership and love story. And I was listening to a podcast where they were just sharing all about their relationship, and it just blew me away. It blew me away because listening to their love story and their partnership, how they met, and just the journey they've been on together, and how their lives have, now they are just like on this joint mission together on Earth. So it's like human but also spiritual and divine combined. And I was just like, yes, thank you, finally. Someone like who I actually really respect and look up to also has embodied something that my heart has been seeking my whole life. But it's almost like modern society and 3D reality tells us is not possible. Like there's no such thing as the one. Relationship means sacrifice. All of these words that, like, yes, to some degree, it is true. Like we do have to be very compassionate for a human that we're sharing our life with, and so on and so forth. But we are led to believe that the odds are stacked against us finding our one true love, okay? So I listened to that podcast. I was driving. I was crying my eyes out in the car, just like, oh my gosh, like I feel so empowered now that I am going to find my soulmate. Soulmate is a word that I resonate. I really like the word mate, and soulmate. Soulmate sounds beautiful for me. I personally don't resonate with the word twin flame. That is just probably my own opinion because it feels a bit culty to me. I just don't resonate with that word. But if you do, and if you feel like you found your twin flame, then that's awesome, and I'm so happy for you. But for me, like soulmate just feels like what I am desiring and calling in. So I listened to their podcast, and basically the female in the relationship, because they are a monogamous masculine and feminine relationship, like a traditional partnership. And I truly believe that this is possible for the full spectrum of sexuality as well. It doesn't just have to be biologically male and female, but that's just the way that I find myself inclined for my own personal preference. So that's just the lens of perspective that I'm speaking through. She cast a spell. When I say cast a spell, she did this specific ritual of, in very, very specific detail, writing down exactly what she was calling in for her soulmate, for her partner. So I like to believe that she created her soulmate and she called that in, because that's a very empowering lens or perspective. So then when we come back to this idea of like, oh, there's no such thing as the one, like there's loads of people out there, there's 6 billion people on the planet. I don't know if that's an accurate number, it's something along those lines. There's so many fish in the sea, there's so many options, and it's like, yes, that's true, that is very true. And I do believe that the more open-hearted and open-minded we are, the more likely we are to meet people that we connect with on a beautiful, heart-centered level. However, that perspective is missing the spiritual aspect, and the spiritual aspect reminds us that we are God and we are divinity and we are source embodied, and that we are powerful beyond our wildest measure, and that we get to choose our soulmate and we get to call them in. So it's like, I hope I'm explaining myself. It's like, there's just so many layers to this conversation, because I've got it all in my head, and I want to express it with you in a timeline that makes sense. So let me just keep unraveling it on a linear timeline. So basically what I'm trying to say is, I listened to this podcast and it shifted something within me, and we'll keep coming back to this conversation about soulmates, like your one true person, calling it in, divine cosmic love, because that's what this whole conversation is about today, divine cosmic love. So I listened to this podcast, and whilst crying in this euphoric state of joy and happiness for these beautiful souls, and happiness for myself in recognizing that, you know, this is going to happen for me, you know, when I call it in and when that timing is right for me. And I was having a chat then after that. I just had a break from listening to podcasts, and I was having a chat with my temple of inner wisdom, which is what I just call this inner space where all of these wise voices reside that I listen to. You could call them my guides. Yes, guides, higher self, ancestors. And yeah, one of my guides who, well, I see her as a version of me who is living on another timeline on another planet. She works very, very closely by my side, and she said to me, Chloe, you've got to delete the apps. You've got to come off the apps. She said, when you get back from your trip to Scotland. So I was like, okay, so that's like in a few days. But she was like, it's time to come off the apps, and you've got to just keep going inwards, and when you're ready, do this spell of basically calling in my soulmate. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm happy to do that. To be honest, I've been feeling a little bit drained. There's been some disappointment. It's been an interesting journey. I would say actually it's been quite fun, just getting out there and dating, and it's been very, very interesting and educational, but it's been draining. And I have noticed that with online dating, it does take a lot of energy away from like my work or my creative practices or my spiritual practices. Like, it does require a lot of effort to be put into it to make it kind of worthwhile. So that was something I reflected on as well. So anyway, where is my hair? There we go. The next day when I was in Scotland, I did receive a message from someone on one of the apps, and bearing in mind, I have not yet done the spell for calling in my soulmate. I still haven't done that to this day. I'm waiting for the date to do it. I think I've got an idea of when I'm being guided to do it. I'm not going to tell you though. So the day after, I received this message and started this conversation, and it was like kind of scary how connected we were, myself and this individual. Scary to the point of like, this is too good to be true. And of course, that in itself rings alarm bells, right? But then I was like, this little naive part of me was like, oh, I listened to that podcast and, I opened my heart to call in my soulmate, and it's just like that fast manifestation because I've been seeing my angel numbers everywhere and blah, 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 blah. So I leaned in. But I did start seeing some red flags of where I felt like, okay, everything that I'm saying and expressing is being cleverly fed back to me, which can be a narcissistic tendency, as we know. And then anyway, we were talking for the week after, and then it just got to the point where I was like, no, this really does not feel good. This doesn't feel aligned. This is a great person, but it's definitely not aligned. It was black and white obvious to me. But I found that really interesting that when we have these like big realizations and openings and activations, if you like, we can instantly get thrown a test or a curveball by the universe. Because I could have so easily leaned into that and fallen into that. Like, the aesthetic was there, the interests were there. We were morally aligned on so many things. We were spiritually aligned on so many things. But all of that is external. And what I'm seeking is so much deeper than that, is kindness, love, loyalty, respect, listening, understanding, holding. Yeah, and I just wasn't seeing that. But it's so interesting, isn't it? How sneaky the universe can be. Yeah, but I recognise the test. And I was thinking like, well, hang on a minute, if I've called in my soulmate, then why would my guides tell me that it's time for me to come off the online dating apps? Surely that was a warning as well. So yeah, leaned into that. And then just to backtrack a bit. So now I'm not talking to anyone. I'm off all of the apps. Backtrack now to my final day in Scotland. We went to a trip to Roslin Chapel and Roslin Glen. Look it up. It's like, I don't even want to say it was magical. It was more than magical. It was like celestial. The energy there was celestial. The experience was celestial. I walked out of that place a different human. I'm going to have a sip of coffee for that. So it's on a rose ley line. So the rose is connected to Mary Magdalene. Roslin Chapel was believed to be a place where Jesus and Mary Magdalene spent time. I don't know the details, so I'm not going to say any more than that because I haven't researched enough to give you an accurate description. But there is strong energy of Jesus and Mary Magdalene and that divine love that they shared with one another. And you can feel it when you go there, like peace just washed over me. I feel like I was being blessed. I feel like I was being healed. And I had a meditation there. I was just really strongly being called to like not speak, be present, and actually just sit and meditate. And in the lead up to my trip to Scotland, I have this number 88 that's been following me a lot for a few years now. 88, 88, 88. And it's always when I'm really falling into alignment with my path or my purpose, which is usually just flowing, to be honest. Yeah, and I was just seeing it like relentlessly in the week leading up to my trip to Scotland and all throughout the journey, and all when we were there, like all around the campsite, like there was just eights everywhere. And when I went into meditation, I was shown the meaning of it finally, because I you know, always thought, oh, 88 is like abundance, so that would be like, you know, ultimate authenticity and just connecting with like your limitless nature, like it's that the infinity symbol, but something about that felt a little bit meaningless and empty to me. I never fully connected to the meaning of it. So when I was in meditation, I was shown that the 8 symbol is the union. So it's like this beautiful oneness, but it's not source, because source is one and everything in unity and has no consciousness of anything other than itself as a unified force. But the 8 is that like, say source is a circle, the 8 is it like 2 halves that have joined together. So the 8, for me at least, what it means for me and as a special symbol for me in this lifetime is that it is the inner embodiment of the divine masculine and feminine archetypes. That has nothing to do with biology. That is a deep harmonizing within. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, because I am on this whole journey of seeking balance and harmony. It also really makes a lot of sense about my upbringing and my lack of a father, and having to heal that within myself and finding that inner masculine to then call in my soulmate. Just so many things clicked. And then I was shown like 2 8s are when 2 individuals who have embodied their own inner divine masculine and feminine archetypes come together in divine union. I was like, oh, damn. So that is one of my life purposes in this lifetime, is to experience that. And that makes so much sense, because I am a hopeless romantic. Like, I've always been, so beyond my trauma of not having a father and always desperately seeking that love, beyond the trauma of that, I've always wanted to share my life with someone. Like, but the full spectrum of that, like best friends, but then just so beautifully deep and intimate, and then the sensual side, but then also like having that protector and provider, and having this beautiful family, and all, like, I've always wanted like all the things from a partnership. So that made so much sense for me. And that is, if I was going to describe cosmic love, that is what it would be. Cosmic love. So when 2 individual souls have embodied their inner divine masculine and feminine fully, I don't know if that's possible, but to a certain degree, where they're then able to align with that same level of inner embodied balance coming together, that is cosmic love. And why cosmic? Because remember earlier I was talking about, you know, when people are like, oh, you know, there's no such thing as your person, and fine, that's fair enough, but that's very sort of a human viewpoint to me. So why cosmic love? Because it opens us up to like the depth of power and possibility and magic that really is at our disposal and at the tips of our fingers when we go in deep and do this work and devote ourselves. Like, true magic and miracles happen. So that is where this like idea of cosmic love came from. I was shown this in meditation in the Rosalind Glen on the Rose Line, and I just felt something within me. And what's interesting is, for me in my life, is this year, for the first time in my whole life, I'm really stepping into my divine masculine role, because I'm building my business to a place where I'm actually, you know, able to take care of myself and be self-sustained, and I am choosing a home or choosing where I want to live for myself, and it's like I'm finally taking care of myself in the way that a father or a partner would take care of their loved one or their daughter. Like, I'm finally taking that responsibility on for myself, and for me it feels like kind of the final step that I need to do before stepping into that cosmic loving partnership. So that was interesting. I thought it was interesting that I received those codes this year, when for the first time ever I'm really stepping into that within myself. Because for someone like me, and this is in my matriarchal line, we have this story which is trickled down all the women in my line of like, oh, I just need a man to come and rescue me. If only I just had a nice rich husband. Yeah, those words trickle down the bloodline. And I've been, I've noticed myself falling into that this year. Like, oh, if only I just had a rich man, my life would be so much easier. And there is nothing wrong with seeking a partner who is financially successful. Absolutely not. But if that is the intended desire, then it's not going to be cosmic love. It's not going to be a deep soul connection, because the intention is to be saved. The intention is to be pulled out of struggle. And in reality, we can only give that to ourselves. A soulful partnership is a joining and a merging of two souls who then uplift and grow together. We don't want to be one person lifting the other and then the other having to lift the other. Of course, to some degree, there's always going to be the scales tipping where one person needs a bit more support than the other, and that's beautiful. We lean on each other's strengths and weaknesses. But until we have come to that balanced inner state of divine, masculine, feminine archetypes, peace, balance and harmony within ourselves, I truly don't believe that we can align with that cosmic love, with that soulmate, which is what I am seeking. Maybe not everyone is seeking that, and that's okay. It might not feel like your mission to really align with a soulful partnership, but I, of course, again, this is only my humble opinion, but I feel that if every human placed their hand on their heart and really allowed themselves to go there, everyone would admit deep down, even if it's behind like freaking truckloads of hurt and pain and fear, every human would admit that they would want to be in the most deep, soulfully loving, compassionate partnership. I bet you. It's very easy for us to pretend that that isn't what we want. And society is moving in such an interesting way, because I think it's so beautiful that sexuality and the way that we identify and how we express ourselves is becoming so liberated now. I really feel that that's beautiful, that we can choose, how we love, how we dress, how we identify. I mean, fuck yeah, like about time. But there is also, with that, I've totally just lost my train of thought there. Totally lost it. That's really funny. Right, I'll just try and reconnect back in. So yeah, as beautiful as the modern life is, I think it's wonderful, right, that we are in a time where we really can express ourselves quite freely, but there is still so much shutting down of people's voices and people's opinions. It's kind of flipping so much in the way of like everything should be accepted, that if you don't accept something, you're wrong. So it's quite hypocritical for me, I find, that we are still in this state of confusion and trends. You know, people can lose their way so easily. Yeah, I could just have totally lost what I was trying to get across there. So, cosmic love and connecting with your soulmate. Yeah, okay, well, this is on the topic of where we are in the modern world, right? And freedom of our sexuality and how we identify. Of course, I believe that cosmic love and finding your soulmate does not have to be man and woman. I don't believe that. I only believe that if you really feel like you want a family, right? Because biologically, coming into that divine union, of course, there's other ways to have children. I know that. And for same-sex partners, there's beautiful ways to have children. But I believe everything is possible. I do. And as I mentioned, I am only talking from my perspective, which is a woman seeking a man. But I do believe that this soulful cosmic connection, there is no rules. There is no rules. Because there are a lot of beliefs that, you know, it has to be a biological man and a woman. And it's like, well, yes, it does if they are intending to naturally procreate together. Then yes, it does. But it doesn't have to be that way. So again, it's all about choice, intention, and desire. And what it comes down to is really, really getting to the root core of what it is that you want. What is it that you desire? Like, no one else can dictate that to you other than you. And I think there is so much distortion and confusion in the world right now about what's right and what's wrong, that it is in a way actually stifling our own voice and like speaking our heart's truth, because we're scared that if we come forward and say like, I'm seeking this like old school romantic love, someone might be like, oh, so you don't agree with modern love. And it's like, no, we need to embrace all expressions of love. I truly believe that. Embracing all of ourselves so that we can embrace all of one another. There's still far too much separation in the world and pointing fingers and blaming. And this is why I feel, and I think I mentioned this in the first cosmic coffee shops, that why I feel like divine love and cosmic love, aligning with our soulmates, is such an important part of this ascension journey, because what heals separation is union. Like, it's so obvious that it almost feels like stupid, like it can't be true. But what heals separation? Union. Leaning into our heart's desire and yearning to share our life with someone, no matter how hard and harrowing that journey can feel. And in case you hadn't realised yet, I am a hopeless romantic. I am a hopeless romantic. Like, I love love. I love love. And I want my fairy tale, soulful, romantic partnership. So why can't I get that? There is absolutely no reason, and I am not going to let no Tom, Dick or Harry tell me otherwise. But what I am realising is that it is going to take patience and just breathing and really being open to the experience. And the more and more that I am leaning into my faith in source and in the divine timing and unraveling of my own healing and my own expression, the more that I am just trusting. There's a reason why I haven't met my soulmate yet. There's a reason why I'm still 36 and single and yet to have children, if that is my path. I'm still not 100% decided on that, but it's probably because I haven't met my person. And I'm okay with that. I'm leaning in to the journey of it all. But I absolutely know that I 100% want cosmic love. I want my soulmate, and I'm absolutely not going to settle for anything less, whatever it takes. And that's a choice that I have made. That's a choice that I've made. So, yeah. I was at a festival yesterday, and this goes back to that mentioning of like why I feel that being open to some form of spirituality is so important as well. And it really doesn't matter what that is. Like, I'm not against religion if you're not like, if it's a true connection with God, then that's beautiful. I am against the dogmatic, culty, preachy control systems that many religions bring with them. But connecting to God is beautiful. And I've watched some amazing documentaries about the origins of religions, like origins of the monotheistic religions before the real kind of church and patriarchal and darker undertones started getting their claws in. And it all comes back to love. It all roots to love. It all roots to love and unity. So yeah, I feel like having a connection to source, to God, to magic, to many gods and goddesses, magic, to something that is bigger than us, to something that connects each of us. I feel like that is the missing ingredient to not only cosmic love, but to our own self-awareness, our own self-growth, our own ascension, the collective ascension of the planet. That is, I feel, the missing ingredient. Because I was at a festival yesterday, and I went to this talk with these 4 women. They were all awesome. They were all in their 40s and above, so kind of the next decade generation above me. So that was cool, actually. And they were all talking about, you know, the the Shark Tank that is modern dating. But they really opened my eyes to a few things that I wanted to share. And one of them said, like, you know, when you are connecting with someone, and I think this really opened my eyes to the truth about online dating. Like, when you're putting yourself out there, you have to share a story that has touched you. Because if you're calling in that soulful partnership where you want someone to love you and cherish you and respect you and actually be serious about it, you need to connect on that deep, emotional, soulful level. And I was like, that's so true, because let's be honest, online dating is all about quick fix. How does this person look? Is this person sexy? Am I attracted to them? What energy are they giving? What quick fixes are they reeling me in with in their clever prompts that they've put together? Like, I fell into that trap. Hook, line and sinker. But it's so true. Like, if we want deep and soulful, we've got to give that. We have to put that energy out into the world. So, you know, even though I was guided very strongly to come away from the apps, the online dating world, if there is a point in time, you know, if I end up being single for another year, I might venture back into them again. I feel like I'm going to approach them with just such a fresh set of eyes, and also like probably not even upload photos of me where I feel like I look attractive. It will be like me climbing a mountain or me like doing something really stupid, because that's my personality. Yeah, so I loved that. And 2 of these women were single and one of them was married, and like I said, they're in their 40s, so I found that inspiring. And they were just sharing their stories about falling in love and being married and then still dating, and just the hope that they had and the excitement that they had was really beautiful. And yeah, they just inspired me and empowered me to keep going and keep growing, right? We can so easily fall into this trap of constantly seeking from outside of ourselves. But in order to find that cosmic love, we've got to find it within ourselves at the moment. And that is that symbol of the 8 for me. Finding cosmic love within ourselves, calling in that cosmic love of like, how can I love myself more? How can I take care of myself more? How can I be that partner that I am calling into my life to share my life with? I really truly feel like we have to embody that within ourselves first and feel what that feels like. Yeah. I feel like I've gone on so many tangents in this conversation. But I do believe in soulmates. 100%. Oh yeah, and it was in the talk with the women yesterday when they were saying like, there's no such thing as the one. I don't think there's one person for you. There's many people for you. You just need to explore and adapt. And yes, I do agree with that. But coming back to that empowerment, it's like, actually, I believe that we are such powerful individuals because we are connected to source, like we are the divine embodied in human form that we have forgotten, and the whole capitalist, patriarchal, dark force society that is ruling everything, the media, government's politics right now, is doing the very best that they can to lead us to believe that we are insignificant and nothing. We are so powerful, and we have the power to call in that one person, but it's not necessarily that like this one person is out there for us, like floating somewhere in the world. I actually believe that we literally design that human in real time. You know, with that spell, we're writing down that person, we design them and we pull them into our reality. So it's even a step up from that sort of, if you like, slight wishy-washy feeling of like, my one true love is out somewhere in the world. Actually, there's loads, like there's endless possibility. All we have to do is write it and call it in. For me, that feels like so juicy and empowering and like, yes, like there is endless possibility. There's 6 billion somewhere along that lines, humans out there, you know. And for anyone who is not gender specific, oh my gosh, you have like a whole planet of possibility, right? That's so exciting. All you've got to do is write down your deepest heart's desires and create that person and pull them into your reality. And that's where quantum physics come in, right? It's not me, it's science. So that feels really good to me. That feels great. And before I could just bang on forever about cosmic love. Oh, and by the way, I have actually put this to practice before. And then I will read out the question, the request for this chat, and then that'll probably be the end. I've been talking so much, I've been so excited, I haven't even drunk my coffee, so let's have a sip. So the universe actually really loves to trick me when it comes to love. When it comes to cosmic love, they're like, oh yeah, is this what you want? Is this what you want? I'm just going to dangle this false carrot in front of you and see if you take the bait. So I called in a really beautiful partnership. It definitely could have been cosmic love, but unfortunately, neither of us had embodied that balance and that cosmic love within ourselves. Both of us. I wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. We weren't mature enough. But it was a really, really, really beautiful connection. And sadly, it didn't end on good terms. And I still miss that person to this day. We separated, where are we, 2026? About 5 years ago. 5 years ago. But yeah, I called him into my reality. Every single quality that I wrote down, he embodied, and I called him in. He was my guitar teacher. I mean, how crazy is that? He was the same age as me. He wasn't like a creepy old guy, by the way, for anyone who's wondering and maybe judging. Don't worry, I judge people too. Yeah, we were the same age, and he was my guitar teacher, and we just clicked on so many things, ended up just becoming friends, and that friendship over months blossomed in a beautiful, very deep friendship and romantic and sexual partnership that was probably one of the best I've had in my life. And I called that in, so it works. Like, I've already put this into practice. I know that it works. When you get really specific on your heart's desire, write it down, forget about it. Because he, like, a guitar teacher, you know, that's not me. And I did a short about this week. It's like, your heart's desires become really unsexy when you're actively seeking them. And I feel that this is another issue with the online dating. It's like you're putting yourself out there, so there's this energy of like, look at me, like I'm looking for love, I'm seeking for love, and it's a bit like, ugh. You know, for cosmic love, it could be a bit of like a negative magnet of energy of being like, okay, so the cosmic love's going to stay away from you because you're actively seeking it. Yeah, and then when that relationship broke up, I did it again. But this time, because I'd sort of failed with that partnership, it didn't end in a beautiful way. I really, really wished that we had stayed friends. But you live and you learn, right? And then was my my last relationship that I had. And he aligned with a lot of the sort of creative aspects that I had called in, but nothing morally. So unfortunately I kind of took the bait and chose to ignore the red flags. And, you know, that's what happened 2 weeks ago after my guides were like, delete the apps, call it in person, you know, come back to that raw state of meeting people and really surrendering to the divine. And then that carrot was dangled in the dating apps. So interesting. And when you really become attuned to these things, you can start seeing the patterns, and it can just become quite a funny game. But you just got to be careful, because when you're dabbling in the realms of love and partnership, we can get hurt easily and we can hurt other people. So we've got to have clear communication, be honest and open, have strong but kind boundaries. Yeah. So here I am, back to square, I don't want to say one, because it doesn't feel like square one, just starting fresh. Blank canvas now. When I'm guided on a specific date, I am going to write out that cosmic love spell, calling in the soulmate that I desire, who is ready to step into a relationship with me and uplift me, and for me to naturally want to uplift them, and for it to just flow with so much ease. Yeah, so that's my story about cosmic love. And I thought that this question went really nicely with this conversation, so I will honour this request and I'll cross it off my list after. So, this is a cool question. Are those across the veil or in other dimensions, so are other beings across the veil or in other dimensions, affected by astrological influences the same way that we are? Now, you might be thinking, what has this got to do with cosmic love, Chloe? Well, I do think that as humans, we are very attached to systems. And astrology. Now, my current, and when I say current, is because I am always adapting and growing and evolving my belief system. My current belief and understanding about astrology, first of all, I do not subscribe to Western astrology. If you actually look into it, it does not align with the true alignment of the planets. So it's like a false system that's been layered on top of a true system. If you're interested in that, look up sidereal astrology. It is the true alignment of the cosmos. I used to be really attached to astrology. I've kind of taken a step back because people can get really obsessed with it, especially when dating, actually. So what I believe astrology to be is almost like stargates. So when our soul is brought into human form on Earth in the freaking miracle that happens at childbirth, like, let's just take a moment to be like, what the fuck? That is literally a freaking miracle. When that happens, we travel through a stargate, and when I say a stargate, I mean like what I envision it as is like codes, like all of these codes, and that's like almost like the astrological blueprint, and we pass through that almost to just give us this, to make us different from other people. So just to give us sort of this authentic way that we sort of incline our personality and our interests. That's how I view astrology. But what I've come to believe is that we can get really attached to these personality traits, and that's a very human thing. That's a very emotional thing, attachment. So I personally don't believe that beings in other dimensions or across the veil, so beings that are not human, I don't believe that they are affected by astrology in the same way as we are. For me, it's got something to do with like physical matter and the way that we are brought into this physical density. It would be interesting for me to tap into, like, do cats and dogs and animals have astrological influence? I would be, yeah, I mean, why not? Because they do, animals do have personalities. And I remember asking a tree about astrology as well. And they've just said, like, astrology is just kind of like a map of the cosmos, and trees and the mycelial network are like a map of the earth. So it's just like this kind of mirror of communication between the two. I thought that was quite cool. So I don't believe that beings across the veil or in other dimensions are affected by astrology, not in our solar system anyway, because I believe that it's very deeply connected to us being birthed into this human form, because we are so, like, we're attaching meaning to it, as I mentioned. And what I find interesting about astrology is that if you actually look at, like, your full birth chart, you're a bit of everything. And I find that actually, if we choose to, we can overcome any personality trait or tendency. Because before, I used to be attached to Western astrology many years ago, and then I found out that it was false. So then that whole identity had to die, and then I was like, well, this is the true alignment now. So I automatically shifted from one to the other, which I'm not going to lie, the true alignment does feel more resonant with me, but it's so multidimensional, and it's not just like one thing, it's multiple, that I feel like we have all of these personality traits and all of these archetypes at our disposal. And actually, us attaching our identity and our personality to our astrological blueprint to some degree is diminishing our power, and to some degree is imprisoning us, because it's holding us back from our full dimensionality. And I feel it's probably easier to connect with this concept as a woman, because as a woman we have cycles, and we are very much connected to like the lunar cycle. Our menstrual cycle mirrors the lunar cycle, and we go through constantly every month. It's changing. We can have like 10 personalities in a month, and it's like that doesn't really align with astrology. So yeah, I feel that we get to choose how we are, who we are. We don't have to fit in this personality box of being like, oh, I'm a Cancer, so I'm really, really sensitive, or oh, I'm a Scorpio, so that must mean I'm like really sexy and sex is important to me. It's like, we don't have to identify as that. And I actually feel like if we can overcome some of this attachment, we can become a lot more free within ourselves. Yeah, and the same with cosmic love, right? And aligning to our partner. I feel that a lot of people will be like, oh, I can't, like, he's not my soulmate because he is a Virgo. And if we have that opinion, that is likely coming from a place of trauma. So it just all comes back again to this place of self-reflection. And if we are calling in someone who is like really attached to an identification of one of their like main astrological signs, maybe that's just a reflection in with ourselves, like, okay, so where haven't I healed? Where haven't I healed some attachment? Yeah. So I think that's all I have to say about that. I hope that answered that question. But yeah, I don't believe that those across the veil are affected by astrological influences, but those across the veil and in other dimensions, I'm sure, know a lot more about stars and planets than we do. And they have like such greater, more expanded, higher cosmic and galactic wisdom that we can tap into. So, and I feel like astrology is sort of limits that in a way for us, because I feel like it's so much more expansive than what we are led to believe as humans currently. So wow, I don't even know all of the crazy tangents that I've gone on in this conversation today. Let me know how you feel about cosmic love, how you feel about soulmates. Do you feel that you can be in a relationship that can actually transform into a soulmate connection, or do you believe that you have to call it in? I'd love to know your reflections. Let me know. And I know this is it's a beautiful topic because it's about love, but I just want to hold some compassion that this may trigger some sort of questioning of our own love for ourselves and for those that we may be in a partnership with. And for that, I hold space for you and just hope the best for you. That's really why I'm here sharing these conversations, so that you can get exactly what it is that your heart desires most from this life, from this beautiful life, and make it a beautiful, soulful, harmonious and balanced experience, and so that we can come together in unity and not separation. Because that is the goal of cosmic love, to honour beautiful, blissful unity. And then let that gorgeous love ripple out into earth and maybe even beyond. Okay, gorgeous souls, Sunday blessings, and I will see you next week for episode 3.